The simple gospel frees us from imposed cultural rules and regulations. Those of you who are coming to church, maybe for the first time, have an expectation of what church is supposed to be like. It was funny last night. Our band played out at an event for the heroes of our community, police officers, some of them who have been wounded. Some of the families were there of those who've been wounded at the courthouse shooting recently, and it was just it was a cool event to be at. Not really Christian for any but there we were, and word spread among some of the people there and the sound guys and the other bands that we're a church band, and we got up to play. Our very first song was a song about a person who has murdered somebody in a room full of cops, by the way, and by the Killers, a group called the Killers. That was our opening song. And then our next song was a song by like Soundgarden or something like that. And our next song was one by U2, and next song was by Coldplay. And one of the guys leaned over to Bruce, our sound guy, and said, "Church band, huh?" See, they expect something. And then I was meeting people afterwards, and I was wearing jeans that are more ripped up than these because I got to be a rocker. And you're up there, you think I get into it here? Dude, I was getting into it there, man. I mean, it was just fun. You're jumping up and down. I know it's immature. I don't care. But you're up there, we're just rocking out. My wife's over there. She's the first lady of the church over there screaming out songs and stuff. And, we're just having a great time. And so when they heard, they're introducing me to people afterwards, like, oh, and he's the pastor of the church. What? I love that. I love that. I hope that people get that. I hope that when people meet you and you say, oh, and I love Jesus, they're like, what? You're not what I expected. You're not what I expected. You know something about the world? You speak what you know what you believe and why you believe it? And I like to hang out with you. This is strange for me. This is strange. I hope you shock them. I hope the church shocks them. I'm not what you expected. Jesus isn't what you expected. And so when we sit here and we look at this, what we see is the simple gospel frees us from imposed rules and regulations. Those Jewish men who were making that decision, it must have been scary for them. Scary, just like it's scary for some of you. I said, but that's not what we grew up with. You got to be circumcised to go to synagogue. You got to wear the robe. You got to wear the stuff. You got to eat the right foods. You got to go on Sabbath. You mean no Sabbath? They don't have to go to Sabbath anymore? They don't have to have their hair cut like me anymore? They don't have to dress like me? I don't know. And they had an opportunity to impose it, and they didn't. Why? Because the gospel sets us free from those rules, those regulations of the culture. Cultural or preferences imposed on the gospel sabotage the mission of the church. Don't come back and say, well, you're watering it down. No, we're not watering the gospel down at all. I just gave you the gospel. Christ crucified, Christ buried, Christ rose again, Christ ruling right now. That's the gospel. We're never going to water that down. We got a lot of freedom under the gospel.